Well, Lee Anne Peters was one of a kind. We first met her here on the show in 2012 when Lee Anne was 26 and facing the end of her life. Lee Anne was vibrant and surrounded by a community of friends, but she suffered from early onset Huntington's disease, which was slowly robbing her of her independence. Her friends in Duncan and family in Alberta helped make her final years as full as possible. She died last August, just shy of her 30th birthday. Now her friends and family have decided to let it be known that Lee Anne took her own life and that she died alone. Because as Parliament considers Canada's physician-assisted dying law, they want to make sure anyone facing Lee Anne's situation is covered under it. Erin Kapela was Lee Anne's friend and one of her caregivers in her final years. She's with me in studio. And Lisa Peters is Lee Anne's older sister, and she's with me on the line from Edmonton. Good afternoon to you both.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for joining us, Lisa.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Well, I understand that Lee Anne had a good understanding, Lisa, of what Huntington's would do to her as it progressed because of family history. Can you tell us how your mother's experience with Huntington's affected Lee Anne?
My mom passed away at the age of 42. She had lived with Huntington's for over 20 years. She was in long-term care for 12 plus years. She'd been shuttled all over the province of Alberta from long-term care facility to long-term care facility. When she finally died, she died from lack of fluids and starvation. She was emaciated. She didn't recognize us. Her ears were cauliflowered from rubbing against the chair she was in. She couldn't see us. And she'd spent years like that before her eventual death. And I think that really left a mark on Lee Anne. First of all, not getting to see her mom as a mom. And then when our mom passed, Lee Anne, it was a husk. My mom was a husk of her former self, the person who just wanted to be married and have babies.
So knowing that Lee Anne had been affected, greatly affected by watching her mother disappear, essentially, when she was diagnosed with Huntington's, what kind of conversations did you have with her about what was going to happen to her?
Oh, we didn't really have to have a lot of conversations. Lee Anne was pretty clear on what was going to happen. And she was also clear that she did not want to die like her mom did. She was absolutely clear on that and completely supported by our family. Lee Anne wanted to live her life to the absolute fullest, and she did. She had complete control. She lived her life her way, and she would not listen to anybody else. If it wasn't the way she wanted to do it, she wasn't going to do it that way. I remember her leaving from Alberta to BC, and everybody saying, "Oh, you shouldn't leave. This is where your family is. You're going to have Huntington's. These are going to be the people who care for you." And she said, "No, I'm leaving." And she found her people. She demanded of her people to be taken care of, and she found an incredible community in BC with Erin and everybody out there. That was really kind of Lee Anne and how she took Huntington. She said, "I don't want my family to see me die like my mom did. I don't want to put them through that." We would have laid down everything to be there for her, but her choice was to protect us from that.
Erin, how did Lee Anne explain her thinking to her community that she had built here on the island? Explain her thinking about how she wanted to end her life here.
Well, when I met Lee Anne, I knew Lee Anne for probably 10 years. So I met her shortly after she moved to Vancouver and with a group of friends there. And she handpicked people who she knew would be loyal. And none of us realized it until years after the fact. We're going, hey, wait a second, this was a setup. But she was very clear. I remember the first conversations I had with her was like, "Hi, I'm here, I'm drunk, I have Huntington's disease, and I'm going to die, but I'm not going to do it like my mom." And we're like, okay, good to meet you. So she was very clear right from the start of what she wanted and her intentions. From the time I met her, which was like 10 years ago.
Lisa, in terms of this, it doesn't sound like you were surprised when your sister took her own life, but what kind of impact did it leave on your own life knowing that she left this world alone?
I'm horrified that she had to end her own life without loved ones with her, without my dad. I'm actually really horrified. My dad was denied the right to be with his daughter. And I can't imagine what Lee Anne went through. I can't imagine what was going through her mind. We give animals more respect than we do our own kind of human beings, our family. And I've been deeply affected by Lee Anne's loss. In many ways, positively. In other ways, it's been heartbreaking. I'm so happy she is free of her own personal hell. The idea, of being in long-term care, I'm so glad that she is free of that and doesn't have to go through that. But I've also lost a sister, and I think somebody who, not until the last few weeks of her life that I really ever got to really know and really respect. I've been fighting since August. I've been working with Dying with Dignity in Edmonton actively since my sister's loss because I needed support, and I felt that Lee Anne deserved to have somebody fighting for her even after she was gone to make sure that other Canadians have the right to physician-assisted death and don't have to die alone, that they can have their family with them, their people with them, and they can die with respect and dignity.
Erin, you wanted to weigh in.
Yeah, it didn't have to go down the way that it did. And because Lee Anne was so clear right from the beginning, and because we all knew the situation, Lee Anne was very well aware. I remember taking her and we did all the, the DNRs and all of the medical directives and her will and everything years ago. It was probably like 6 or 7 years ago. We got that all done because she was very clear. Mm-hmm. But as things progressed, the conversations that she used to be really comfortable having because they were still kind of in theory, stopped. And out of respect for her and just also out of awareness, we didn't push it. So we would have been there to have all of those really hard conversations with her and really help guide her along that path if we'd legally been allowed to. And she was very, very careful to actually protect all of her caregivers from her plans. Like, she lied. She just straight out lied, right? She was like, yeah, go, Jan. Jan was her full-time caregiver. And she's like, yeah, go visit your father. It's fine. Go. Now's a great time. And that was the week she passed, right? So, but for the years we took care of her, she protected us, was what she did. And she didn't have to. It shouldn't have had to be that way. We would have had her party and put her dress on and done her makeup and made sure she had her earrings and given her a shield and sent her off like the warrior maiden with a good party and her dad singing. We would have done what she desired. And she should have been able to have that.
Lisa, what do you think Lee Anne would tell the MPs who are working on the assisted dying legislation, working on the bill, if she could speak to them directly?
If she could speak to them directly, she would say, you need to fix what you've got planned right now. First of all, it would make it so she was ineligible. It would make it so many Canadians are not eligible for a physician-assisted death. It's too limited. Anybody who has any, if you are not terminally ill and your death is not imminent and you have mental faculties, as long as you're kind of within that small scope, it's accessible. If you don't fit into that small scope, it's not accessible. So anybody with Huntington's or anybody with a directive, an advanced directive, will not be, at this point, based on the legislation, won't be able to access physician-assisted death. And Lee Anne would be appalled. She would be deeply saddened by that.
Well, Lisa, And Erin, thank you very much for joining us on the show today to remember Lee Anne and what she would have wanted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Lisa Peters. She's Lee Anne Peters' sister, and Erin Kapela was her friend and one of her caregivers in her final years in Duncan.